Hey guys, tonight we're going to do something very ambitious and very relaxing at the same time. We're going to talk about time. Not the stressful kind, not deadlines or alarms or that horrible notification sound. I mean time before watches, before clocks, before anyone could glance at their wrist and sigh dramatically. So dim the lights. Get comfortable. Let your phone sit face down, bravely resisting the urge to tell you the hour. Tonight, we're floating back to a world where nobody really knew what time it was. And honestly, they were kind of fine with that. Ancient people did not check the time. They felt it. They watched it crawl across the sky. They argued about it. They missed appointments because the sun was sort of over there earlier. And somehow, entire civilizations still happened, which is impressive. Or alarming. Possibly both. So let's ease into this very slow, very human story of how people tried to understand something that refuses to sit still. Before time had numbers, it had vibes. For most ancient societies, time began with the sky, not philosophically. Literally. You look up, there's a sun, it moves. Eventually it goes away. That's a day. Congratulations. You've invented timekeeping. The earliest humans didn't need minutes or hours. They needed to know three things. Is it light? Is it dark? And is winter trying to kill us again? So the day was split into very relaxed chunks. Morning was when the sun showed up and everyone collectively woke up sore. Midday was when the sun was high and work felt extra unfair. Evening was when shadows got long and people pretended they weren't tired. Night was night. Dangerous, cold, full of things with teeth. No one was saying, meet me at 3:45. They were saying, meet me when the sun is about there, gesturing vaguely at the sky. And if you were late, well, the sky was late too. What are you going to do? Argue with the sun? Of course, humans being humans. This vague system lasted about 5 minutes before someone decided it wasn't precise enough. Intershadows. At some point, someone noticed that sticks make shadows, and shadows move. Slowly, predictably, like a lazy cat dragging itself across the ground. This was a big moment. Possibly the biggest moment ever involving a stick. Early sundials were not elegant. They were basically upright stones, sticks, or pillars planted into the ground. You watched the shadow creep around and thought, ah yes, time is passing. I am still here. The Egyptians were particularly into this, which tracks. Because if you're going to build massive stone monuments that scream we care about eternity, you probably want to keep an eye on time too. They used obelisks as giant enormous, dramatic time sticks. The shadow told you roughly how far through the day you were. Morning rituals, midday offerings, evening everything. It wasn't exact, but it didn't need to be. Nobody was catching a train. But sundials had one small flaw. A very obvious one. They did not work at night. Or when it was cloudy, or when you were indoors. Or when you lived somewhere the sun didn't cooperate. Which is often. So naturally ancient people said, what if time could drip? And that's how we got water clocks. Water clocks, or clepsydra, were exactly what they sound like. Containers with water slowly flowing out or in. As the water level changed, time passed. Very calmly. Baby, damply. The Egyptians used them indoors, especially in temples. Priests needed to perform rituals at specific times, because gods, apparently, cared deeply about schedules, but not about inventing clocks for humans. The Greeks took water clocks and immediately turned them into something stressful. In Athenian courts, water clocks were used to time speeches. You had as long as the water lasted. When it ran out, you were done. Imagine arguing your innocence while listening to water drain away. Very relaxing. Definitely fair. Of course, water clocks had their own issues. Water freezes. Water evaporates. Water leaks. Sometimes the hole was slightly bigger. Sometimes gravity was feeling dramatic that day. Time could literally run faster or slower depending on the weather, but people accepted this. Time wasn't a hard number. It was flexible. If the water said your speech was over, your speech was over. Don't blame physics. Blame destiny. Meanwhile, somewhere else, people were looking up again. The stars were doing their own thing. They moved. They repeated patterns. They came back night after night, like extremely reliable co-workers. And ancient astronomers noticed, in Mesopotamia, priests tracked the stars obsessively. Not in a fun hobby way. In the gods speak through celestial math way. They divided the night sky into sections and used star positions to tell the time during the night. If a certain star was rising, it was early night. If it was overhead, time had passed. If it was setting, congratulations, you were still awake and probably unhappy about it. This required deep knowledge and excellent memory, which meant timekeeping was not for everyone. It was for priests, astronomers, and people who liked telling others what time it was with authority. Regular people still operated on vibes. Now let's slow down and drift over 2 calendars. Because telling time during the day is one thing. Knowing what day it is, that's a whole other emotional journey. Early calendars were lunar. The moon was obvious. It changed shape. It disappeared. It came back. It was dramatic. People loved it. A month became one full cycle of the moon. Simple. Elegant. Slightly inconvenient when you realize that 12 lunar months do not equal 1 solar year. So ancient societies had to pick a side. Moon or sun. And then quietly panic when they didn't match. The Sumerians tried to fix this by occasionally adding extra months, just sliding them in there. No big announcement. Just, surprise, this year is longer. Which must have been thrilling for farmers. The Egyptians said, actually, we like the sun. They noticed that the Nile flooded at roughly the same time every year, right after the heliacal rising of Sirius. When that star showed up at dawn, flooding season was coming. Time, agriculture, and survival all lined up beautifully, so they made a solar calendar. 365 days. Very modern, very impressive. Except they didn't include leap years. So over centuries, their calendar drifted. Slowly, quietly. Like time itself, messing with them on purpose. But again, nobody was panicking. Festivals moved. Rituals shifted. The gods probably noticed, but they didn't complain. Or if they did, no one could hear them. Now, let's talk about hours. Because hours, as we know them, did not exist the way you think. Ancient people did have hours, but they were stretchy. The Egyptians divided daytime into 12 hours. Nighttime also into 12 hours. But here's the catch. Daytime hours were longer in summer and shorter in winter. Nighttime hours did the opposite. So an hour was not a fixed amount of time. It was a fraction of daylight or darkness, which means an hour in July was not the same as an hour in December. Try running a modern meeting like that. This system made sense if your life revolved around the sun. You worked while it was light. You slept when it wasn't. Precision was unnecessary. Your body knew what time it was. Your back definitely knew. The Romans inherited this system and said, yes, but louder. They loved dividing the day into hours, announcing them publicly, and acting very official about it. In Roman cities, a public official would sometimes announce the hour based on sundials. This was not exact. Sundials differed. Shadows were weird. Clouds interfered, but everyone pretended it was authoritative. If someone said it was the 3rd hour, it was the 3rd hour, even if another sundial disagreed. Because arguing about time was deeply Roman. Eventually, mechanical clocks would come along and ruin this beautifully flexible system. But for now, time remains soft around the edges. Let's pause here for a moment and just appreciate how patient ancient people were. If you asked someone in ancient Greece what time it was, the honest answer would be something like, later than before, earlier than tomorrow. And that was enough. They didn't rush. They didn't count seconds. Seconds didn't exist. Nobody was running out of time because time wasn't a thing you could hold. It was something that passed, whether you noticed or not. Of course, this didn't stop philosophers from thinking about it way too much. Aristotle described time as the measure of change, which is a very Aristotle thing to say. Helpful? Not helpful. Depends how sleepy you are. Plato thought time was a moving image of eternity, which sounds profound and also like something you say at a dinner party when you dante want follow-up questions. For most people, though, time was practical. When to plant, when to harvest, when to pray, when to stop working before your body gave up entirely. As we drift further along, we'll see how different cultures handled this problem in their own quiet, slightly chaotic ways. Sand clocks, candle clocks, incense clocks that literally smelled like time passing, because why not add scent to the experience? But for now, let's stay here. In this early world, where the sky was the clock, water dripped patiently, shadows did all the work. And nobody, absolutely nobody, was setting an alarm for 6:30 a.m. Take a breath. Let the sun hang low on the horizon. Time is mobbing slowly, politely. And when you're ready, we'll keep drifting forward.